I'm Sarah Pelfrey. Welcome to the Octopus Garden. This is my little yoga studio and Thai massage studio. I'm glad you're with me today. Our yoga practice is going to be one of moving in all directions. So as we get together, we're going to be using a few props here today. We're going to be using a strap. So any strap that you have, if you don't have a yoga strap, you can use any kind of leather belt or even the belt off your bathrobe. But we're looking for something that's fairly sturdy and not stretchy. So not elastic, but a strap. We're also going to be using a yoga block. If you have a yoga block of any kind, that's great. If you don't, you can use a small pillow, like one of the square pillows from your couch, or a folded up blanket, anything that you can rest. We're going to rest parts of our body on this block at certain points in the practice. So a block. And then I have a blanket here. You don't have to have a blanket. Some people like to sit up on the edge of a blanket or have the blanket under their knees in different parts of the practice. So if you'd like to pause your video now and gather those things, feel free to do so and then come back and join us. Okay, we're getting ready to get started now. We've got all our props here within reach and I'm sitting up on the edge of my blanket. So find a comfortable seat. You can be seated cross-legged like I am. You can have legs out in front of you or one leg out in front. Whatever finds you comfortably sitting with your arms anywhere resting here. Let the eyes close, let the chin come parallel to the floor. And we're just going to spend a few moments here centering and finding our breath. So begin to notice your own breathing. You don't have to do anything to it. We're just breathing in and out through the nose, inhaling and exhaling. And as you're doing that, begin to notice your own body. Feel your spine, feel your shoulders and neck, feel your hips. Find any place in your body that might be gripping or tight from whatever you've been doing or not doing as we've spent these last crazy days. And then notice again your inhalations and exhalations. Breathing through the nose, inhaling, fully expanding the ribs in all directions, exhaling fully and completely, and being ready for the next inhalations. And as the mind centers on the breath, if any thoughts want to come into your mind and take over about yesterday's news or tomorrow's to-do list, you can just notice that those thoughts are there, but set them aside and come back to the body. I like to say it's like walking down the street. You see things in the store windows, but you don't have to go in. So here we are, feeling the breath. Let's bring our hands together in front of the heart. Letting the thumbs rest gently here at the center of your body. Noticing the breath go by. Coming to this place where the breath brings us calmness and telling our bodies it's time to move. So let the eyes flutter open. Let the hands clasp and inhale the elbows up to shoulder height. And then turn the palms outward and exhale the hands out away from you. Inhaling the arms back in and exhaling the arms back away from you. Your own rate of breath. For this entire practice, you're going to be using your own rate of breath. Moving with the breath, breathing with the movement. And the next time the hands come into the chest, let's exhale them down to either side. Fingertips to the sides, sitting up tall, reaching up through the crown of the head. Let's inhale the arms upward, inhaling the entire time the arms are reaching up, and then exhaling the entire time the arms are coming back down. Inhaling the arms up, reaching up out through the fingertips, and exhaling the arms back down. Now, keeping the left fingertips on the mat, we're going to inhale the right arm up, palm facing to the left, and reach for the left sky. The head is also going in that direction. We're inhaling up into the hand and exhaling down into the right hip, down into the right sitting bone. Inhale up into the hand and exhale the arm all the way back down. Head comes back to center. On your next inhalation, the left arm comes up. The palm reaches to the right sky. Inhaling up into the hand, exhaling down into that left sitting bone, that left hip. Inhaling up into the hand and exhaling the arm back down to center. And then inhaling both arms up again. This time let the face rise up to the ceiling. Lift the heart, lift the face, lift the hands, reaching up out of the hips, and then exhaling everything back down. Now we're going to bring our hands to heart center, back to that prayer position. Your fingertips are right below your chin. And we're going to keep the chin centered right over the fingertips. As we inhale, lengthen tall, and exhale, move around toward the right knee. Chin is still over the fingertips. The eyes are looking over the knee. This is a subtle twist in the back. Inhale tall, exhale back to center. And then inhale tall again, exhale over toward the left knee. Looking right out over those fingertips, out over that left knee, pressing down into the right knee, and exhaling back to center. And then let's release the hands. So maybe even with these few movements, you're already feeling taller and more released. So now we're going to move on down to our backs. We're going to lie on our backs on the mat and have that strap nearby. So you'll want to move your blanket out of the way and lie down on the mat, legs extended. Notice now, settle down on the mat, the legs are extended, the feet are flexed like you're standing on a floor. This is Tadasana, mountain pose, lying down, just as if you were standing up. So notice the engagement of the legs. You can even dig the heels in a little bit and feel the legs charge up. You don't have to keep digging in the heels, but you notice now what that engagement of the legs feels like. And then take a moment and a round of breath to notice all the places the back body is in contact with the mat. The back of the head, the top of the shoulders, the hip, the buttocks, the heels. And we have a few curves in the spine that are naturally not going to be pressed into the mat, like at the back of the neck, the cervical spine, and at the low back, the lumbar spine, and the backs of the knees. Those places are always going to be lifted from the mat. But take a moment to notice other parts of the body pulling away from the mat. It might be a hard thing to tune into right now, but if you notice what it feels like now, you may notice a big difference later as we go. So we're going to take the strap that you have. We're going to hold one end of the strap in each hand here. We're going to inhale the right knee into the chest and the foot toward the groin to loop the strap around the ball of the foot and then bring the foot back in front of the knee. As we exhale, we're letting the strap slide through the hands and lengthening the foot out into the strap. Continuing the expansive breathing, we're going to notice our left leg engaged on the mat still, pulling that thigh down to the mat. The right leg can be at any angle up from the floor. It doesn't have to be straight up and down. That's about stretching the hamstrings. That's not what we're doing right now. So just lengthen through that leg on every exhalation. Now we're going to take both ends of the strap in the right hand. Long arm, both ends of the strap in the right hand. Reach the left arm up alongside the ear. And inhale. As you exhale, let the right leg fall outward to the right. Any amount. Doesn't have to go out to any particular spot. It can be just a little bit. It can be a lot. Whatever works for you this morning. And breathe. You might notice a little stretch in the inner thigh, in the outer hip, on the rightwardly outward rotation of the right hip. And then inhale into those left fingertips. Reach up above the head. Exhale, let your mind travel all the way down the left side of the body. And notice how long the body is from fingertips down to the foot. Then inhale the right leg into center. Take the ends of the strap in the other hand now. Send the right arm out to a T on the floor. On your next exhalation, inhale first, and then exhale that right leg all the way across and to the left. The left toes also go in that direction. This is a big twist. Maybe your first big twist today. It's gravity and weight allowing this twist to happen. Every inhalation pulls the right hip away from the shoulder. Every exhalation lets this right shoulder release back to the mat. Take a few rounds of breath, pulling the hip away and exhaling the shoulder down to the mat. And then let's bend the bottom knee. Bring the heel toward the buttocks. If you'd like to take the right hand and grasp that foot, you certainly can, or not. And then exhale that right shoulder back to the floor. You'll notice now some heating up in the front of the left thigh. The quadriceps are stretching. And we're moving in all directions with every breath. One more breath here. And then exhale that left leg back to long. Inhale the right leg back to center. Remove the strap and let the right leg come alongside the other leg. Give yourself a nice round of breath and make your observations about how one side of the body feels compared to the other side of the body. Maybe you can notice some differences in the right side body being heavier and lower to the mat. It's kind of interesting. That means we've already released some things that we're holding on. So let's do the other side. We're going to inhale the left knee in toward the chest, loop the strap, and then exhale, press out into the strap, again at any angle up from the floor without feeling like you have to stretch the back of the leg too much. Pay attention to the right leg, still inner spiraled and stretching out along the floor, moving the thigh down to the floor. Back of the neck is long, back of the head is on the floor, everything's in alignment. We're going to take both ends of the strap in the left hand with a long arm. We're going to reach the right arm up alongside the ear. Inhale and exhale the left leg outward to the left. Any amount of outward rotation of the hip is working your range of motion today. Might feel a little stretch in the inner thigh and the outer hip. And then inhale into those right fingertips. And as you're exhaling, let your mind travel down the whole right side body all the way to the foot. Enjoy that long right side body. Then inhale the left leg back into center. Take the strap in the right hand. Send the left arm out to a T. Inhale one more time and exhale the left leg all the way across the body. Bottom toes coming right along with it. And with your next few breaths, the inhalation pulls the left hip away from the shoulder and the armpit. The exhalation lets the left shoulder release back to the floor. And notice the sensations in the spine of this big supported twist. Now let's bend the bottom knee and pull the heel toward the buttocks. If you want to grasp the foot with the hand, you can do that or not. You'll feel that heating up of the quadriceps in the right thigh, the stretch down the front of the right leg as the quadriceps get a nice lengthening here. One more good breath here, and then release that leg back to a long supported leg. Inhale the left leg back to center. Take one end of the strap now in each hand. And bring the right foot up to join the left foot in the strap. The feet are separated, hip bone distance or shoulder distance apart. You've got one end of the strap in each hand. And in this position, it probably is a little easier to bring the feet so the soles of the feet are facing the ceiling, a little more straight up and down kind of motion here without a huge amount of stretch in the back of the legs. What you might notice is the wonderful release of the low back onto the floor. Enjoy that low back pressing into the floor with no effort. You can even gently and very slowly rock left and right, noticing how the sensation moves all the way to the left in the low back, and then all the way to the right in the low back. There's pressure there, opening up the muscles there in the low back. Rocking left and right, and then coming back to center. Bend the knees. Keep the knees bent as you release the strap and set it aside out of your way. Bring the hands to the front of the knees. So we're not hugging the knees in tightly and crunching into a little ball. We're just gently holding the knees and once again rocking left and right, giving the low back a massage. All these big muscles and big muscle groups, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, getting some pressure massage on the mat. And then we're gonna keep on rolling and roll to the right and come up to table, which is hands and knees. So some people like to bring a blanket in under their knees. You can do that or not. And so here we are in table. Hands are below the shoulders, maybe a little bit further apart than your shoulders are, and the knees are directly below the hips. Here, our eyes are looking straight down at the mat as the neck is long, and we're going to begin to move the spine. We're going to inhale and arch the spine toward the ceiling like a big rainbow. And then we're going to exhale and move the spine toward the floor like a hammock. So as we're inhaling and exhaling, we're moving the spine through its range of motion forward and back at your own rate of breath. Notice that the neck remains long like a turtle reaching his little head out of his shell. The sides of the throat reaching for the ceiling, reaching for the floor. And the tailbone likewise, reaching for the floor in one direction, reaching for the ceiling in the other direction. And then come back to what we call a neutral spine. So there's no big collapse, no big arch, just the regular lumbar curve. We're going to reach the right leg back with toes on the mat. We're going to press through the heel and feel that nice heating up, lengthening through the calf. We're also flexing the toes against the mat, getting a little stretch in the toes. And you might even notice your knee joint opened up here with no pressure on it. Inhale back to table. Exhale the left foot back, toes on the mat. Press through the heel. Enjoy all those sensations. Calf muscles moving long. Open knee joint, toes flexing. And inhale back to table. This time as we exhale, we're sending the right leg back at hip height with toes facing the floor. And we're reaching the left arm forward. Actually requires a little bit of abdominal engagement to keep your balance in this pose. So engage the abs. Inhale, lengthen both directions. And as you exhale, without curving the spine, draw the knee to the chest and the elbow to the knee. And then inhale back out full length. And exhale back to table. So the spine has to curve a little bit, but it's not a cat curve when we do that. Other side. Inhale, left leg back, right arm forward. Inhale long. Exhale, pull the knee in and the elbow in. Inhale long. And exhale back to table. Might give yourself a couple of those spinal, supple, hammock rainbow moves there. And then we're going to curl the toes, press into the hands, and lift the hips up and back to downward facing dog. I'm going to walk my feet back a little, make my dog a little longer, and then bend one knee and the other, letting the alternate heel press down toward the mat. Notice now as you're doing that, what's happening in the upper body. Feel the armpits hugging in toward each other, the hands pressing away from the feet, and you've got like a big U shape of engagement from one hand going up around the shoulders and down into the other hand. Ears are right between the upper arms. And then bend both knees, lift the sitting bones way up, make a huge lumbar curve. And keep as much of that curve as you can as the heels gently move down toward the floor. We're going to walk our hands back to our feet, bending the knees a lot. Notice as the whole foot comes down onto the mat that the heel is right behind the toes. The knees are bent a lot. There's no stretch in the back of the legs. This is a healthy bend for the low back, no stress here. So we're going to bring our hands, let's bring our hands to the outside of the shins. Press the shins out into the hands and the hands back into the shins, and notice how that charges up the legs. Keep that engagement in the legs, bring the hands to the hips, pull the front of the shoulders away from the mat. Inhale and unfold up to standing. All the way up to standing. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. How we doing? Everybody still breathing out there, I hope. We're going to walk up to the top of the mat, where the top of your mat is. We're standing now on both feet, just as we were lying on the floor. We're standing in Tadasana. So we've got both feet on the floor, they're hip bone distance apart, and we notice this alignment of shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. And let's give a moment of attention to our feet. So look down at your feet, notice the toes are spread, notice the heels are right behind the middle two toes. And as you press into the feet, feel what we call the 3 points of the feet. So the first point is in the heel. The second point is in the outer edge of the foot under the little toe. The third point is the inner foot, the big toe mound, right under the big toe. Points 1, 2, and 3. So pressing into those points, lift up all your toes strongly. Lift up those toes and be tall all through the body. The muscles to lift these toes actually also pulls up the arch of the foot, and those muscles come all the way up into our pelvic floor. So there's a lot of lift involved in just lifting your toes. Who knew? This is a great bunion buster as well. Inhaling one more time with the toes lifted. Exhale, spread the toes and set them all back down. Feel the whole, so your foot just got twice as big, right? Not really, but you're actually standing on your whole foot and it feels great. So here we go. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold, bending the knees or keeping them straight, whichever you prefer. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, send the right foot back to a lunge. Front knee is right over the ankle, back leg is lifting and strong. We notice we have weight in both feet, and we know that's going to have to be true because we're going to let go of the hands, press into the front foot, and bring the hands up to the front thigh. Pull the navel toward the spine, bring the shoulders over the hips. Here we are back in Tadasana in our high lunge. Bring the hands to heart center and breathe. Now you can stay right here with hands to heart center, or you can add a twist to your lunge. Inhaling up through the crown of the head, exhaling, bringing the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Pressing the hands together and pushing the heart around to the left. And breathing. Abdominal muscles are engaged. Woo! Or not. And then inhaling back to the lunge. Step back, downward facing dog. Pressing the hands away from the feet and lifting the sitting bones up and apart. Come forward to plank so that the shoulders come right over the wrists. As you're breathing, feel that you support from one hand around to the other hand. Abdominal muscles are engaged, heels are pressed toward the wall behind you. And then press back, downward facing dog. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. Enjoy your long, expanded dog. And then our right foot is going to come forward to a lunge, and that can happen however works for you. If you want, you can come down to table and bring that foot forward and then come up to the lunge. Or from dog, you can inhale and bring the whole foot forward with the hip step to the lunge. However works for you. We're back in a lunge, now with the right foot forward and the left foot back. Weight in both feet. Press into the front foot. Lift yourself up to the thigh. Find your point of focus out there, your drishti. Hands are on the front thigh. Navel to the spine. Shoulders release over the hips. And we're breathing. Hands to heart position. You can stay here, or you can make this a lunge twist as well. Inhaling length, exhaling left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Press the hands together to move the heart around to the right. And breathe. And then the real challenge is keeping the prayer position to come back to center. And then back down to the lunge. Step the left foot up to Uttanasana, forward fold. Knees can be bent or straight. Hands can be anywhere along the thighs or the shins. We're pulling the feet apart again. Elbows to the sky, pull the front of the shoulders away from the mat. Pull the feet apart from each other and inhale all the way up to standing. Hands to prayer position. Give yourself a breath. And if you find that the breath gets away from you easily, which it always does, try talking all the way through this. And then see how that works for you. So coming back to the breath, always available to us, coming back to the breath. That was one half of a modified sun salutation, so we're going to do the other half now. Here we go. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold, knees bent or straight. Lifting up through the sitting bones. The weight is in the whole foot, points 1, 2, and 3. Inhale, part of the way up. Exhale, left foot goes back to a lunge. And this is where we need the block. Should have brought it closer. So find your block or whatever you're using for a block today. It's going to go on the left side of your mat, on its flat side. And we're going to bring the hands around to the inside of the front foot. We're going to lower down so that that block is right above the knee joint. I'm kind of far up on my mat, but you'll adjust to what you need. So now I'm resting my left leg on that block. I'm uncurling the toes, letting the foot release. And I've got a big opening going on in my right hip. Everywhere that my leg is attached to my body on the right-hand side, I'm feeling lots of sensation. You can stay right here on full arms, or you can come down to forearms. Noticing that the spine stays long, the head isn't hanging. I'm still moving length through, from tailbone through the crown of the head. You can let the right knee fall out to the side. Whatever feels good for you in this stretch. Let's bring our minds to this leg that's resting on the block. Notice that there doesn't have to be any engagement in this leg. And the block is pressing the thigh right back into its hip socket as it's built to be. This is exactly how your leg and hip joint fits together. So we've enabled that with this passive prop here. Come back up to full arms if you're already there. Curl those toes under, lift up that back leg, bring the hands back around to the lunge, set the block to the side, and step back, downward facing dog. Find your long dog here, big expansive breaths, and hinge forward to plank, using all of that engagement we've reviewed. Upper back engagement, abdominal engagement, heels pressing, tailbone reaching for the heels, and then bring your knees down right where they are. And you can relax the feet. This is plank on knees, still a great engagement of all those muscle groups. And at this point, we're going to let ourselves release into a child's pose. So we're pressing back, we're going to separate the knees, keep the toes together, and just release down into whatever your comfortable child's pose is. So you can rest your head on top of your folded hands. You can stack your fists and rest your head. You can have the arms out straight and rest the head on the floor. Whatever works for you. Child's pose is your chance to release, your chance to come back to the breath, which we know gets away from us so easily. Take your time, breathe gently into the back body, and let everything settle down for a moment. We're going to finish our sun salutation in just a moment. So now we are coming back up to table, coming back up to downward facing dog, pressing back to dog, and it's the left foot that's going to come forward to the lunge, however that happens best for you. The left foot's coming all the way up to the hands, and we're bringing the block in now for the right leg. Hands come to the inside of the front leg. The back leg lowers down to where the block is just above the knee joint, and we can uncurl those toes and totally relax that foot. So there's lots of sensation in this left hip now, the inside and the outside, everywhere that the leg is attached to the body. We can let that knee fall out to the side. We can stay here on full arms, long spine, or we can come down to forearms, long spine. And let our attention now go to the right leg, resting on the block, and feel just the weight of the leg on the block, and the block pressing the thigh right into the hip joint, just as we were built to be. Take a few rounds of breath here. The front hip flexor on the left is getting a nice opening, and we're still breathing. Come back to full arms. Curl those back toes under. Lift the back leg up so you're back in a lunge. Set the block out of your way. Bring the hands around to either side of the front foot and step the back foot up to forward fold. Knees bent or straight. They can be bent or straight, either way. Comfortable for you. Remember, the feet are pulling apart from each other. Hands to the hips, elbows to the sky. Pull the front of the shoulders away. Pull the feet apart as you inhale all the way up to standing. Inhaling arms up to the sky and exhaling down to heart center. Close your eyes and give yourself a breath. Nice job. Yeah, great stuff. Okay, from here in Tadasana now, we're going to step the left foot back a little bit. Doesn't have to go back very far. It's out toward the edge of my mat, and my toes are angled to like 10 o'clock. My front foot is still facing the front of my mat, and I'm going to bend my front knee just enough so the knee is over its ankle. Notice this gives you a nice grounded, strong stance, so it wouldn't be so easy to knock me over from the side. This is the beginning of a warrior pose. So we're going to move through Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1. So we're going to inhale the arms up and look straight forward. Arms are reaching up out of the hips. And the important thing here and in every yoga pose is to find your version of the pose that allows you to continue breathing. So inhaling and exhaling, sometimes it's a little more challenging than others, but we're still able to bring in and release the breath. Let's exhale, hinge the arms down in front of you. Bring the hands to the hips, and you'll notice that the right hip is a little more forward than the left hip. So as we move the right hip back and hinge the torso forward, the front knee straightens, and we can keep hinging just to the point where you begin to feel some stretch in the back of the leg, in the hamstrings here. So just to the point, you only need to go as far forward as you begin to feel that lengthening. If you feel pulling right at the back of the knee, let your knee bend a little bit, and you'll still have a nice stretch in the hamstrings. So breathing, inhaling, lengthen the torso, exhaling, releasing into the stretch. Take a couple of rounds of breath here. And then on your next inhalation, inhale the torso back up and that front knee back to its bend. We're back to our warrior stance. We're going to hinge the arms up ahead of us now as we inhale. The eyes catch the hands and follow the hands all the way up to the ceiling. So the face is lifted, the hands are lifted, the heart is lifted. Even the abdominal muscles are lifted toward the ceiling as we press down into all 3 points of both feet. Warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. We are strong warriors here. And then exhale the arms back down. Once more, inhale the arms up, catch the hands with the eyes and watch them. When you get to the top here, exhale, and on your next inhalation, you can stay right here, or you can inhale the hands even further up behind you and create a back bend. Again, finding your place where you can breathe. So if you're feeling any pinching in the low back, bring your stance back to straight up and down. It's your back bend, it's your practice. And everyone, exhale the arms back down and step the back foot up. Tadasana, inhale arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center and breathe. We're going to move to the other side. So now the left foot's going to stay here. The right foot is going to step back. My foot is at an angle to point out to like 2 o'clock. My front foot's still pointing toward the front of the mat. My heart is still moving toward the front of the mat. I've bent the front knee just over its ankle, so I have a strong grounded pose with weight in both feet. So I'm not leaning into the front foot or leaning into the back foot. I have weight in both feet. Let's inhale, arms up. Warrior one, looking straight ahead. Find your place where you can breathe. And then hinge the arms down, bring the hands to the hip. We're going to bring this left hip back to be even with the right hip. The torso hinges forward and the front knee naturally straightens. Hinge forward only to the point that you begin to feel the heating up of these muscles here in the back of the thigh, the hamstrings. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, release to your version of this stretch. Remembering if you feel any sensation right at the back of the knee that you can bend the knee a little bit, soften the knee, and still have a stretch through the hamstrings. So we're not hyperextending this joint. It's so easy for us who are hyperflexible. Inhaling long, exhaling release, and then inhale back up to standing, let that front knee bend. We're back to Tadasana, Warrior One. And then inhale, let the eyes catch the hands and watch them to raise the eyes, the hands, the heart to the ceiling. Long, tall warrior here. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, hinge the arms down. This time we're inhaling, hinging the arms up. And then on your next inhalation, you can stay right here, or you can inhale the arms behind you further up and back to create a long curve. Front knee is bent, weight in both feet, and you can breathe. Inhale up and forward. Exhale the arms down and step the back foot up. Great job there. We're going to move on down to the floor now. Let's do it gracefully. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend the knees a lot to bring the hands to the floor. The heels are right behind the toes. We're going to bring the left knee down and the right knee down. And we're going to come to supine position. We're going to be back on the floor. You're going to want your block nearby. So let's lie down again. Here we are, lying down again. Finally, lying down. And breathe. See if you can tell any difference in how you feel. Release to the mat here. Do you feel any different than you did the last time you were lying in this position? That's an interesting sort of observation to make. So we're going to open our hips just a little bit more and bring some sensation to some muscles that are hard to release. So we're going to bend the left knee and put the foot on the floor. We're going to bend the right knee and bring the right ankle to the left knee. Notice my foot is flexed like I'm standing on a floor. That protects all the tendons and ligaments in this right knee. And I'm going to pull this knee away from me, or push the knee away from me, whatever makes sense to you. I'm moving the knee away from the body, and I'm opening up this right hip joint, sort of in a different direction. You can even bring your fingers to the hip joint there. Walk around with your fingers. Notice that open hip joint. You'll feel a great big tendon right there. That's called tensor fascia lata. Our Starbucks tendon, tensor fascia lata. That's for you, Kelly Easterly. And I thank Doug Keller for the Starbucks reference to tensor fascia lata. And breathe. Now we're going to bring the sensation to a different part of that right hip. We're going to inhale the left foot off the floor and clasp the hands behind the thigh. Shoulders release back to the mat, neck is long. And keeping the tailbone as close to the mat as you can, we're going to gently begin to pull that knee in toward the chest. Notice now how the sensation has moved from the front of that right hip to the back of the hip. The back and side of that right hip now is getting lots of sensation as we pull through gluteus medius, the iliotibial bands along the thigh, the iliopsoas that comes through the pelvic girdle and around the front of the thigh. That's a hard one to access. And even piriformis at the top of the buttock, going right across the sciatic nerve. It's getting a nice pull now to release. These are muscles that hold on tight a lot of the time, and now they're getting to release. So let's gently set that left foot on the floor and move to the other side. The right foot on the floor, the left ankle crossing over the right leg, foot flexed, moving that knee away from the heart, pulling or pushing, however that makes sense to you. That knee moves away from the heart. And here again, we can find that open hip joint and feel that big tensor fascia lata. Feels good to massage it. It often gets sore as we overwork our hips. So let's move the sensation from this front of the hip joint to the back of this left hip by slowly inhaling the left foot off the floor, right foot off the floor, and clasping behind the thigh. Keep the neck long so you haven't pulled yourself up to the top of your head. The neck is long and free. And we're slowly going to pull the knee in toward the chest, keeping our tailbone down close to the floor. So we're not rolling up in a ball here. We're keeping the long spine and letting the sensation be totally in the outer left hip. Just allow the breath to bring good oxygenation, good blood, good neurological messages to those muscles that are opening up on the left hip. We're holding this for a few breaths because it is just delicious. And then we're going to set the right foot down, uncross the ankles, and we're going to find our block or whatever we're using for a block. We've got our feet on the floor. We're going to press the feet into the floor. We're going to lift the hips up just enough to slide this block on its flat side in under the sacrum, the lowest part of the spine. And you think, oh, how do I know if my block's in the right place? Well, here's a little test for us. One at a time, we're going to send one foot up to the ceiling, sole of the foot facing the ceiling, and then the other foot up to the ceiling, and let yourself rest on the block. I'm pulling my own hair here. Let your sacrum rest on the block. Now, if you feel like the block is poking you anywhere, you can bring one foot down and you can move the block upward or downward, however it works. So move the block around until this position, legs up in the air, feels like you're resting on the block. This little pose is called supported shoulder stand. And it feels pretty good. So let's rest here for a moment. This is an inversion. This is a way to let gravity move in the opposite direction for all of the blood and lymph and everything that's moving through the lower body. Notice the sensation of the heaviness of your legs. You know, your legs weigh like 45, 50 pounds apiece, depending on how big a person you are, more or less. So they're pretty heavy. And here they are being supported and being naturally, again, set down into the hip joint the way that they're meant to be in a bent position like this. It's pretty restful. I could stay here a really long time, but you probably have more to do in your day, so I'm going to move on. One leg at a time, I'm going to bend the knee, set the foot down on the floor, and I'm going to walk the feet away from the block a little bit. And you can stay right here if this works for you. Or if you'd like a little more sensation, you can reach the right foot out to the right corner and the left foot out to the left corner of your mat. And here we are in a very unaligned position. This is not spinal alignment. This is our pelvic girdle being forced forward by this block, but it's all for good purposes. So as you lie here and breathe, you're doing great good to, again, those big muscles that are hard to access. The iliopsoas that joins at the spine here comes through the pelvic girdle and across the front of the thigh to attach on the inside of the knee. The piriformis that's probably right near the top edge of this block, it goes from the spine, there's two of them, they go from the spine out to the hips, hip bone. And they pull across the sciatic nerve. They're all hip flexors. They all help us sit and stand and bend. They work a lot. The IT bands coming down the outside of the thighs, just getting to rest here. And the front hip flexor, the hip flexors that go right along the front here, nice and open in this position. So everything that needs to go from your heart and your brain and your torso down all the way to your feet. I'm talking about blood, I'm talking about lymph fluid, I'm talking about neurological messages. Everything that travels through the body has its most open highway right now with these open front hip flexors. So your body is getting to work in its best way for a moment in those terms. We're going to bend one knee, set the foot on the mat, bend the other knee, set the foot on the mat. We're going to lift ourselves up just enough to press this block out from under us and let the hips lower down, keeping the feet on the mat for a moment. Set your block aside, and then one at a time, lengthen one leg out and the other leg out, and just breathe. And now is when you can really make your observation about how your body feels on the mat. Feel now the back body on the mat and see if you can remember what it felt like the first time we were lying down here, and whether this feels vastly different to you, which is usually the report. But it's your own observation to make. So at this point, if you were in class with me, we would enter a time of final relaxation, Shavasana. And I will encourage you that after this video is over, you might want to come back to this place of lying on your mat and just letting your breath be free and your mind travel over your body to notice all of the benefits of your practice, the heaviness of the body, the release of the muscles. For the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and move through the end of our practice here. Please come back to Shavasana. But for us, we're going to roll to one side, bend the knees, roll to one side, and use the arms to press us up to a last comfortable seat. So whatever that seat was at the beginning for you, whether one leg was out or both legs were out or sitting cross-legged, whatever your comfortable seat was, find that place so that we're back where we started. Let the eyes close. Let once again the mind come to the breath. And even here we can feel the benefits of our practice. Let the hands come together at the heart. Rest the thumbs there at your heart center. Notice all the spaciousness in the torso for the breath to move so freely. The neck is free, the shoulders are free, the hips are free, and you're free to come back to this breath at any time during the day. Inhaling everything you need, setting your intention, and exhaling to move it forward into whatever task lies before you. So as you do that, the light at my heart center recognizes and appreciates and honors the light at your heart center. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today at the Octopus Garden. I hope you'll come back.